Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Viewertown. My name is Gorilla, and today we have Bunzel.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty well.
So today we're going to be talking about kind of a hot button topic that always exists in the VTubing community, and that is parasocial relationships. So Bunzel, how do you define parasocial relationships?
Well, a parasocial relationship would be any one-sided relationship I would be considering as a parasocial relationship. By definition, usually this would be similar to how you would have a relationship with a celebrity, like a wrestler or a cartoon character, for example.
Yeah, so the key idea is that you don't get to, you're not in contact with the person. Whether it's like physically or literally.
It's very much like an unattainable relationship. You cannot contact them in any meaningful way. Like, you could send a tweet to Donald Trump, for example, but that doesn't mean that you're in a social relationship with him.
Yeah, like he's not going to respond to you, most likely.
Yeah. And even if he does, it's not going to be a meaningful conversation.
Yeah, it's just like he'll just say like 2 words at you. So in the VTubing community, the word parasocial gets thrown around a lot. And I feel like at this point, between all of the, I guess, controversy and drama, you could say, regarding people putting themselves into these parasocial relationships or claiming that people are, creating these or exploiting them. What do you think about, like, do you think that people are just too eager to throw that word around?
Yes, I do definitely believe that. The word is heavily bastardized, as are the terms oshi and waifu. There's a lot of terms that just get continuously misused, and parasocial is definitely one of them. So what I find a lot of people use parasocial for is just saying, this guy's being a creep, he's being parasocial. When really, being a creep is completely different than being parasocial.
Yeah, generally, if you're like, it's very loose what people say is parasocial, because it honestly, in that context, it doesn't even fit the sentence you say, this guy is being parasocial. That doesn't really
it doesn't fit the definition at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. If you're in a real parasocial relationship, you wouldn't even notice the guy, really.
Most of the time, yes, unless they are, say, like a donator or something, in which case they can be a very creepy donator. And that can be a very one-sided relationship where you are aware of the person's presence.
Yeah.
However, that does not mean that all donators are parasocial, though it is very common.
Yeah, and one of the key points that we just mentioned is that it's a kind of like line of contact with the person that you're in such a relationship with. And most people do use donations as like a means to talk to the person. Because if you're like,
yes,
yeah, because if you're like reading like or if you're like watching a Hololive girl, chances are she's not going to read that chat message unless it's read.
Yeah, absolutely. In the large corpus sphere and the large indie sphere as well, it's very common for people to have donations automatically read out in text-to-speech, for example, or just read during chat. Or in the case of like Hololive, they would have the big donation streams where they're just reading out the donation messages to make sure that they do get read.
The super chat streams. I can't believe those are fucking real.
It is actually really impressive that they can get away with that.
Yeah. It's like fucking a paid Q&A. But since now that we defined parasocial, now that we touched on it a little bit, what are some like outside of I know that outside of VTubing, you do have various examples of parasocial relationships. We try to compare that to what we see in the VTubing community.
Well, there's one good example, which would be like the K-pop stands, as people often call them, which are just like the crazed K-pop fans that'll they'll do anything for their K-pop oshis.
Do they call it that? Like, now that you mention it,
I don't know what they call it.
Yeah. It's obviously not Oshi, but like now that I'm wondering, like, what do they call it?
Like it's essentially the same idea though,
Yeah.
where they're just a fanatic fan, and they are just crazed.
Yeah, I dated a girl that was like really into K-pop, and I just didn't really understand.
Yeah, there are other situations though where it's not always going to be like a crazy fan or anybody, you know, relatively dangerous or creepy or anything like that. So there are a lot of examples out there of people that are in parasocial relationships with characters that don't actually exist. Well, not people that exist, but like fictional characters. These people are incredibly harmless because what are they going to do? Stalk somebody who doesn't exist?
Yeah, and the nice thing about characters that don't exist is that you can make them however you want. Like you get
Oh, absolutely.
like that's another dangerous aspect that we didn't really touch on is that people in these parasocial relationships tend to morph
Yes.
yeah, like morph whatever person that they're obsessed with into this.
Yeah, they make decisions
like
about how this person behaves in their
yeah,
mind, and then they don't behave like that, and they freak out.
yeah, and that's like
Though that does
that's
actually happen with some cases, even with the waifu community. I knew a guy who had a waifu, and he ended up changing waifus because she ended up being the big bad in the end by the show because of spoilers. Spoilers.
yeah. But at the same time, that's like that's
Yeah,
relatively
that's like
very
betrayal.
Yeah, that's also very relatively harmless.
Oh, absolutely. But like that kind of thing can happen all the time with real people. Like there was cases where people were. Oh God, I'm getting ahead of myself on this, aren't I? Already.
Well, fuck it, dude.
I think we're just skipping over a bit.
When have we ever had structure?
We tried. Well, I wanted to segue from waifus to the other bit before getting on to Rusia. So we'll just come back to Rusia afterwards, I think.
Okay. Well, this is a VTuber podcast after all, so.
Yeah. So somebody who it could also be considered a VTuber in some ways would be Miku.
Yep. And she
so very similar to Kasuna Ai, but you know, without the actual voice actor. Still puppeted by people, you know, and all that. But the corporation behind Miku, what was it called? I can't remember. They actually released products that had little holograms, and they were like your little computer wife, essentially. And eventually, well, actually, before I get to that, they actually sent these out with marriage certificates. So this was like parasocial exploitation. People who had Miku as their waifu would pay out for these like $2,000 computers that would just greet them in the morning and say goodbye when they went to go to work. And they eventually shut down the servers for these, which kind of brings a moral question to, should you legally be able to sell a product that preys on the emotions of someone?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because a part of me kind of feels like that's a little bit harmless, but if they're able to control when it's active or not, that's a really awkward situation. Because if this was just a standalone thing that like it's just like you buy it and it's just gonna be that way forever, that's, you know.
Like when I first saw these, I thought that they were going to be standalone units that were just pre-recorded phrases, but no, they had actual servers. Like these were reliant on actual physical servers where they shut down only like 2 to 3 years later after charging these people massive amounts of money for this very early computer wife experience.
Yeah, $2,800 desktop device. It got terminated in March 2020.
Yeah, and the closest comparison that I can make is Ryan Gosling's wife in that one movie that everyone knows him from.
Which
Like
one?
it's just you know the one. It's
I'm a big fan right now.
my brain is just drawing a blank. It's really hot here actually. I'm sure anyone listening actually knows, so that's fine. They know exactly the computer wife I'm talking about. You know the one, the Gosling moment.
Oh, you mean Blade Runner 2049?
Yes, that's the one. Blade Runner. How could I forget that? Honestly,
Yeah, we're
it's
both
a, it's a
we're
good movie.
both fake fans. We're not. Yeah, we're not fake Gosling fans.
Gosling Bros not like this.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a Gosling, and you're not a Gosling, so we shouldn't have to know that. But yeah, you were saying that the computer was similar to the character in that movie.
Yeah, and I was talking about how is it like is it legal really for a company to be selling something that would wait, did I already say that?
Yeah, you asked that, but honestly, what it should have a disclaimer. Like I'm wondering if it had a disclaimer that's like service could be shut off at any time, because most games nowadays do that if the company has a history of like shutting down the servers. It's like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought this was going to be like a unit that just it stuck by you, right?
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
But I think if they have that disclaimer, then you can't really say anything. To be honest, like most
from a legal standpoint, yeah, but
morally it is not very kosher, especially if you're spending
absolutely,
especially if you're spending like $3,000.
Yeah, for $3,000 they should have given them the servers, because like there are people who have actually had like actual weddings for Hatsune Miku.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Like this is stuff that makes the news.
Yeah.
And then they see this and they see that there's a market and then they exploit it. And that's corporate parasocial exploitation. And then this kind of goes back to when I was talking about Rushia for a moment. So Rushia was also doing the same thing for Cover Corp. So before her big incident happened, she had merch that was coming up. It was all wedding themed merch, and this included rings. So very much like the marriage certificates, it was parasocial exploitation at a corporate level on the emotions of getting married.
Yeah, like games do that as well. Like Cancol and Azure Lane, you can buy like wedding rings and stuff like that. But you know, this paints like a really nice picture between getting a wedding ring inside a game for a fictional character versus you're buying wedding ring merch for like a real person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know of like only 3 cases that have happened with this with the rings. One was Rushia, one was an indie who I'm not going to name, not a fan of hers, and an adult cam girl, which, you know, in those communities the exploitation is still on the indie level, but it is as strong as the corporate level for VTubing, I would say, because everything costs 10 times as much.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's kind of weird that you say like indie, and indie has done this, because indies is where you go to not have this kind of thing, I'd say. Because the
absolutely
big point of like indies is that you do have a direct line to the person. You do talk to the person, whether it's in like Steam chat or like whether it's in like stream chat or DMs, or you know, sometimes you even get to hang out in like their community Discord.
Yeah, and this is where it goes from corporate parasocial exploitation to complete sociopathic behavior. And really, that line is so blurred between the two things, I can't tell them apart.
Yeah, it's really difficult to...
like, is it sociopathic behavior to turn off somebody's computer wipe after 3 years because you found that the server bills are too high?
I'd say so, yeah. But, yeah, that's where being a company kind of comes into play. You gotta save money.
It's obviously sociopathic behavior, right? Like, there's no real argument against it. It's not morally correct to purposely exploit somebody's social needs for money. It's not correct. Like, there's just no way to justify it. However, with these situations, you know, that's going to happen all the time because it's profitable. And at the bottom line, it's a company and they need to make money. But the fact is that company could be doing a lot of different products. They don't need to be selling you a social experience.
Yeah.
But any entertainment company sells you a social experience. Just these ones are much more personalized because it's happening live. You can contact the streamer, they can read out your message, and you can feel good about it. This is the same reason why many people in the adult cam sectors have gone under like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to get their rocks off, essentially talking to one girl.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, since you mentioned a cam girl, and I'm not actually very I don't know anything about that that community or industry whatsoever.
Well, I'm not going to name them because I can't remember their name, honestly, but it was like the scummiest thing I've ever seen. It made the news. I can tell you that much.
But what was it like? Like, how's it different than like what we were talking about just now with like YouTubers?
It's honestly not that much different.
Yeah, or is it like not different at all?
It's really just not that different. The difference is that you technically, I guess, get a little bit more out of it. Because think about it, if you're watching a girl play video games, you're not even getting your rocks off. You're just getting your social needs met. While with like a cam girl, you're actually getting your rocks off and your social needs met in most cases. Because that is a social need for most people. And most people are devoid of that, I think, in the modern day. And that's where those exploitations come in. So the same things you would see in the adult cam communities a decade ago or more are things that are popping up in the VTubing community now.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between the two from what I've noticed. By my inexperience in the cam girl community, kind of makes it like a little bit hard to compare the two. But you are like getting something out of it.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of scary to see these parallels.
Or rather, I feel like the whole point of like the cam girl is that you're purposely trying to get something out of it. You're trying to get,
Oh, absolutally. And the thing is, like, those sites wouldn't be popular if there wasn't something other than just a recorded footage could give you, right?
Yeah, because that like ability for them to react to you is really important.
But like, think about Kazuna Ai. I would not say that many people had a parasocial relationship with Kazuna Ai, unless I'm being entirely ignorant towards this. But most of her content was pre-recorded.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the interesting thing, because I listen to a lot of ASMR. I listen to a shitload of ASMR, and not once have I really even felt like, like a parasocial thing with any of these girls. But the thing is, most of their stuff is recorded, so you know that it's a role play. You know it's contained just within that video. They're not actually that kind of person, unless they are, but I would not know that because I only listen to the audio. So it's really important between like the whole live aspect and pre-recorded aspect, in my opinion. Just because when it's live, you're like spending.
Well, I think with ASMR, that's more of a scenario situation, though, too. Correct?
Yeah.
So I think that with the recordings, if you were to compare it more to, say, a blogger or a YouTube creator like William Osmond or something, where it's just like, okay, I see this guy, he makes cool content, I can see myself hanging out with this guy and having a good time. That would be more of a parasocial feeling, I think, than what you would get out of ear-licking ASMR.
What's that even ear-licking? It's just like, don't make it sound like I listen to this weird shit, because I don't.
That's the fun part.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that I remember reading like people talking about the not safe for work stuff, and they were saying that they don't like listen to the safe for work stuff because it makes them feel too lonely and weird. They're okay with they're okay with listening to the not safe for work stuff because it feels like a one night stand, and they don't have to like put any emotion. They don't have to put any emotion into it, which I thought was like a really interesting way to think about it.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I really am not into ASMR, so I never even considered the differences that you would experience there.
Yeah, but like we were just talking about cam girl stuff, and that's similar in a similar way to like, you're just trying to get hard, but because it's like not recorded, it's live, and the girls are like talking to you, interacting with you, and you could like affect what goes on in their stream. That makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, 100%. Even with like any Twitch streamer or streamer on YouTube, the live aspect is definitely going to be a major driving factor in building that parasocial relationship. Like the term parasocial was coined in like the 50s, right? Not long after the TV started becoming prevalent. So this has been an issue since then with like talk show hosts and things like that. or wrestlers on TV.
Yeah, with like, I feel like for a lot of situations though, there is like a unspoken rule that you're just meant to enjoy this as is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of there's so it's just weird with something along the way just kind of like makes you forget that. And I understand with streaming, it's really hard to forget that you're just meant to like enjoy it as like like an entertainment thing. But
Well, the thing is, a lot of streaming that you see nowadays is also very casual stuff. It's not like with TV where it's meant to be like a performance.
yeah, it's like a production when it comes to
Yeah, with streaming, it's just like you're hanging out with your friends. It's the you're hanging out with friends experience. This is your girlfriend experience. This is your watching a girl play video games while she ignores you experience. If you're a lurker, I would say that lurkers especially have a more parasocial relationship than anybody who actually talks in chat.
yeah, because
Like by definition,
they don't yeah, because they're just watching.
absolutely.
But yeah, we're going actually speaking of like lurkers and stuff like that, going back to the Rusia thing, going back to the corporate scene in general. What do you think about like stuff like Vox Akuma and like those guys? That like little controversy, I guess you could say, of like Nina coming into the stream and then basically like interrupting what was going
What do
on.
I think about Vox Akuma's situation? I don't think about Vox Akuma.
Well, I don't think about it at all. Also, I messed up because it's Reimu, not Nina. But
Oh, okay.
well, what essentially happened was what he was doing like what date stream or something. I should probably know this, but I don't. But he was doing like a stream, and Reimu kept like messaging him on Discord, and like she's a
While he
mod.
was streaming?
Yeah,
Well, that's just being unprofessional.
yeah, that is being unprofessional. But the thing is, after the fact, he had to address that, and there was like a lot of shit flinging going on Twitter between like the talents. Like Fanana said something about like she was like fuck you, get parasocial like fuckers or whatever, like being like very hostile towards fans who are just trying to enjoy the product. And personally, I think it's weird that they're that aggressive towards like fans because
I agree.
not only is it unprofessional, but it's you have to understand that a lot of these people they're enjoying the show. They don't want to see something happen that they didn't really like.
Like, I would like to make a comparison here to being in a restaurant with your waiter. When you're there and you're trying to get your order taken, and their boyfriend comes up and starts talking to the waitress while you're getting your order taken, that's going to interrupt your experience in the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Like some of the wording that the
Or not even boyfriend, but like the manager comes up. It's going to
Yeah.
be the same issue.
yeah, like some of the wording that people were using were kind of weird. Like some guy, but even then I understand because of like my experience listening with ASMR stuff. They're trying. It was a date. It was like a date role play stream. They're trying to get that experience. It doesn't matter that they're not actually dating, and this is like just a person that will never like acknowledge them to a personal level.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a special kind of stream like that too. Where it was a parasocial exploitation stream specifically, instead of just a regular stream, because that's a whole different situation. That makes it so much worse.
Yeah, it's like imagine doing like a special stream and then fucking like not only was she like messaging it, before she messaged him on Discord, she was basically abusing her status as moderator to like dominate the chat essentially. At least I think this is what happened. It's been a couple months and
God,
it wasn't very interesting to be honest, outside of like people getting mad at each other. But
like this makes me think about another point that I wanted to bring up, but not in this context. But the different types of parasocial relationships. If you view it from the point of the streamer, it's going to be very different than if you view it from the point of the audience. So the streamer's viewpoint is that there's this huge crowd of people all interested in them and the things that they do. In this situation, you have the moderator doing that same thing.
yeah, it's really unfair. I don't want to defend like the Vox fans because they are kind of crazy in their own way, but I do feel like you should know what you're doing, I guess.
I think the issue here is that the moderator thinks that they're a bigger Vox fan. So you've got crazy against crazy with a parasocial relationship against the chat because they're all competing for your man. If that's a situation, then I'm very sorry for Vox and the situation he's gotten himself into. But that's the game he's playing, and he's gonna have to sit with that.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what I said, but
It is interesting to see that happening to a man, though, for once, because that's happened so often in other communities with women. God, I'm not gonna get into that. That's too spicy.
yeah. Like, honestly, I do feel like
MMOs even.
yeah. Stop being horny. Honestly, don't interrupt my show. Okay. That's why.
Stop DMing the healer.
That's why I fucking watch pre-recorded shit, because this doesn't happen. But it is very interesting to think about, just because that was like one of the times where that word parasocial was like just thrown around, and it's like this is where it is applicable, but this is also where it's like you know what you're getting yourself into, and I think they played their hands kind of wrong, and I don't know, it's very ugly.
Yeah, with this type of thing, it definitely does, the nature of the socialization. And with the point that I did previously want to bring up, with the similar relationships to that, the parasocial relationship that a donator or tipper would have with a chat on either a corporate VTubing channel or an adult camgirl channel, for example. So those people will spend many hundreds of dollars trying to get the attention of not just the streamer, but the chat around the streamer. It's almost like peer pressure in a way after a while, because they want to thrive on that kind of attention that other people are giving them. And this can stem from just pure loneliness or a poor upbringing in some cases, but just not really understanding the boundaries between these relationships and what you're actually getting out of that donation.
Yeah, personally, I've never donated, so kind of new territory for me.
I think the first time I ever donated was to a completely unrelated thing to VTubing, which was Dwarf Fortress. I paid $5 when I was 19.
That's like...
Yeah, I
kind
supported the content, yeah.
Yeah, that's a different kind of donating. I was thinking about donating.
It's really not that different.
Yeah, you think so?
Because, well, the thing is, you're supporting a creator, correct?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You're supporting a creator. I was supporting the development of Dwarf Fortress. And in these cases, you're supporting...
you weren't like purchasing something. You were just like giving the money just...
Oh no! You're just donating the money. It's a pure donation. It's not like you're buying merch or anything. That would be completely different.
Yeah,
unless you're buying a ring. Those profit margins.
Well, I was thinking like you were talking about like a Patreon deal or something like that.
No.
Yeah, like technically those are...
Patreon did not exist back then. I'm old.
Yeah, you're old. So
yeah, that was like 2009.
Yeah.
Actually, it might have existed. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't think it did.
I don't use Patreon either.
I mean,
What I'm trying to say is I don't support monetarily outside of like donate or subbing to like a few people.
Well, that definitely counts.
Yeah.
Like you do get a little bit more out of it, but I mean, you get what, some emotes?
Yeah.
You get a little special badge to make you feel good.
Yeah.
You get the gamified experience with your what's it called, the subscription streak with games, or not games. Sorry, the Twitch. These they gamify everything.
Yeah.
Would you say that people have a parasocial relationship with Twitch at its core?
Don't make me think.
Well, I could bring up politicians if you want.
Oh, don't even. I don't want that. Don't make the audience think.
No, we'll probably get shut down if I make them think that direction too much.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think. So one thing I didn't bring up. I used to be obsessed with like cosplay girls, but I
could not imagine this.
What?
I could never imagine this.
Like you?
I'm just kidding. I can absolutely imagine you being obsessed with cosplay girls. Yes.
I would have been more surprised if you couldn't, but the thing is like their status or everything, because these were like really popular cosplay girls, but I'm like, oh, that's cool, they're hot, but I wanted to like, this is gonna sound weird, it's so fucking weird, but I thought that it would be feasible to be friends with them.
I mean, it's not unfeasible when it comes down to it. If you know like a local convention or something, you could absolutely meet somebody who goes to that local convention and become friends with them. But the fact that you want to become friends with them because they cosplay, even if you're not interested in cosplay yourself, is a little questionable, I'd say. It's like wanting to become friends with somebody because they're a streamer.
Yeah, like the thing is, yeah, a lot of these girls exist on social media very prominently, so they do talk about their lives like all the time. They blog about their whatever they're doing, and that's where like the that like little social parasocial aspect comes through, where it's like, oh, this person is actually just a normal person, and it's you get exposed to that, and you think it's cool that a person like that likes it.
So, whoa, they also go to McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, nah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes right down to it, everybody involved in all these situations, top to bottom, is just a normal person at the end of the day. And there's nothing special about any one of us.
I wonder if that makes it like, if that revelation makes it more like makes you more open to being in like this kind of parasocial relationship.
Well, the thing is, once you actually make contact and you're able to have a conversation with somebody, it is no longer a parasocial relationship. Yeah. It is now a social relationship, and that's often when it goes wrong for people, because they realize that somebody isn't like they thought they were on TV.
Yeah. And well, I was gonna say, the word I was trying to look for was like increase the attraction.
Yes. Like, I would say that's definitely possible.
Yeah, like you find out that she likes the same kind of games, the same movies, etc. It just makes you want to like reach further.
Yeah, and especially if they have an active chat, like with a streamer or something. If they're like a 30-view Twitch streamer, for example, you can often talk to them about their hobbies and interests. They'll be more than happy to go off on their hobbies and talk to you even off stream a lot of times.
The interesting thing that you just mentioned, though, is that I do feel like a lot of these people, as soon as they talk to the person, it's I want to say like 7 out of 10 times they'll probably just get over it.
I would not say that's the case necessarily.
You think so?
I would love to think that, but I've seen way too many times where that is not the case. A lot of the time people get more enamored because a lot of these people are actually just nice people. Yeah. Really, and a lot of them are too nice for their own good. They will be exploited for that social attention. There's one person who comes to mind specifically who had to deal with this ghost of a person, we'll say, for many months at a time, because they were persistently messaging them all the time, and it turned out that he was messaging a lot of girls in the community like that. So there were many girls who were being persistently messaged and harassed for his attention, essentially.
Yeah, in my case, it's kind of weird because I would be enamored with somebody, but then I get the stray chance to talk to them, and the more I talk to them, the more I'm like, this is kind of this is normal now. It's just we're friends and we talk a lot, and it's been it's the same kind of friendship I have with dozens.
But that's
of people.
because you are the person who you are. They are not the person that you are.
Yeah.
So you have to consider that other people will behave differently depending on a situation. And in many cases, these people who are very persistent are people who grew to be persistent because of the way that they grew up, because they have been ignored by many people over time. So they have learned that the only way to get an answer is to be a huge hassle and just constantly message people until someone responds or they get blocked, and then move on to the next one.
Yep. Guess people are just wired differently.
But that is a whole other topic that I could get into, but I don't think that would be good.
I've not been keeping track of time, by the way. I think we're like, 40 minutes in, 30?
Yeah, if I got into that topic, it would be a few more hours at least.
Yeah, and also a lot of stuff that we probably can't say.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the parasocial conversation is very open-ended, but at the same time it's very situationally based, and I personally just don't really fall into it, I guess, because nowadays I just mostly watch indies, and if I want to talk to them, I'll talk to them, or I'll reach out.
Oh, absolutely, I do the same. But have you ever had a parasocial relationship of any sort aside from that you can think of, aside from the cosplay girls you mentioned earlier? Because that was more of a because that wasn't like a single thing. That was more of like an interest kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So not because, really, because it's I'm trying to think, and it's the closest one is like some of these ASMR girls when they start getting a little too introspective about themselves, and the lines between them being in character versus them just kind of rambling about their life kind of like seeps through.
Yeah, where they start improvising with real things. Yeah, I can understand that.
Like I do appreciate when they do that, but at the same time, it's also like I don't really want to like know about this. It's
It's
actually
like
gonna. Well, here's another interesting thing though. I only feel this way towards like audio ASMR girls when it comes to like people who you like use their cameras and stuff like that. Like face cameras, I guess you can call it. I don't feel anything about those people. Those people are that is just purely meant for me to fall asleep.
yeah, those ones take you out of your immersion for the situation.
Yeah.
And I think immersion is a big thing for people in this. Like when Vox had his mod messaging them, that was taking people out of the immersion for their experience for sure.
Yeah. And I think like visual is really big too, because in most of like the face cam people I watch, it's generally like a role play, like a doctor role play or something like that. So
Yeah,
what this visual of me being at the office or like a doctor's office and they're like using all these props on me, I don't really feel like like it's not really a situation where you're like, oh, I'm falling in love with this person. You're just there for the experience ish. Whereas if it's like audio role play, your roommate confesses to you and sleeps in your bed, you're like, there's no visual, so you're imagining everything. And if they start talking about like talking out of character, then you're like, oh, this is like, it stops being a character. Basically, like literally stops being a character. You're just imagining you and them now.
and the reason that I think this is interesting is because you wouldn't go through the effort of listening to all these if there wasn't something that you were getting out of it, right? So in most of these cases that you're having like a parasocial relationship or anything like that, it's because you're getting comfort in many cases.
Yeah, I'm not really like getting like comfort.
I mean, or your rocks off, whichever. I don't know what.
Well, the funny thing is that I used to listen to it because I was kind of lonely, but then I'm like,
yeah,
but it was
getting comfort.
Yeah, yeah. Well, back then, but it wasn't like.
I don't necessarily mean today you're listening to this for that reason. It's just because you enjoy it now. But maybe there was a time in your life where you just found that it helped you get through the day. Like I mentioned waifuism earlier, and I was actually in the waifu community for a number of years. So I did have an unironic waifu, and it was completely harmless, but it was something that helped me get through the day. And I would get into communities based around that kind of thing, and you would do like art trades and stuff like that. And there was really nothing wrong with that. It was just that I had this character who gave me the sort of energy that I really needed in my life at the time, because I was going through a very hard point in my life. And I think that a lot of the people who fall into these parasocial relationships are people that are going through the same sort of things in their lives, or they have something missing and they're looking for comfort in some way. And that's why people will go through like hundreds of thousands of dollars of corporate exploitation to try to feel something that they're missing. Yeah. Because it's chasing the dragon is what it really is.
Yeah. And every time you like quote unquote support your waifu or a person or something like that, you just kind of get a high of it.
Yeah, like even with like the waifu community, the people that I knew from that were still spending upwards of $1,000 on like merchandise for these characters, right? Yeah, like they'd buy their figures, they'd buy their magazines, they'd buy everything. Because it was like an obsession for them. They were chasing the dragon, but it was on a much smaller scale than what happens to some people in either the VTubing community or the other cam communities, especially the other cam communities where everything costs 10 times more.
Yeah.
Like there are people that lose their houses over parasocial relationships.
Yeah. The ASMR stuff is really interesting because that's a really big, like people see it as very manipulative and very, what's the word? Like slimy, I suppose, to just make stuff that's like catering specifically to like these feelings. But I don't know. Personally, I don't see any harm in it. Honestly, as long as it doesn't like, because for some reason there's just such like a clear barrier that this is like fake.
I think that a lot of the people who have specific feelings about ASMR in particular for that, and feel that it's slimy, is that they just haven't listened to much ASMR.
It also doesn't help that a lot of people do exploit it because
Yes, yeah.
of like
It's because of the specific types of ASMR they're doing.
yeah. Plus,
But the thing is, you can have those experiences without it being ASMR as well. So it has nothing to do with ASMR. It has to do with it being GFE.
yeah, like ASMR just like it just makes it a little bit more obvious because that's a genre.
Yeah,
Very,
absolutely.
very popular genre.
Like if you go to the just chatting category right now, I guarantee you will find somebody telling somebody that they are their wife. Guarantee you'll find someone. Any given moment on Twitch, somebody's getting bricked up.
Yeah, honestly, if you go to the just chatting stream, you might fall in love with somebody.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying thought. But here's the thing that this is gonna fucking
Just remember 80 miles.
yeah. Well, this is also gonna like turn into a fucking ASMR tangent, but there used to not be live ASMR. Like that wasn't very common at all. So it was only videos up until people started doing it live on Twitch or YouTube or whatever.
I feel like this kind of leads back into the cam girls because I feel that a lot of them are the same people who are bringing the ASMR onto Twitch.
Yeah, there's a lot of like girls with a OnlyFans like side hustle.
Yeah.
Like even one of my favorites has one, except I will never buy it because well, one, her videos fucking suck. Like the one she released for free was
so you bought one? Oh
no, the one she released one for free as a I guess like she reached a milestone on Pornhub, so she released one for like free, and I'm like, oh, this is like really good. And then she's popular enough to where I could like Google Google like the leaks to it, and then I'm like, oh, these all suck. It's like the only good one. It was like I don't want to describe it, but but she does stream, and I imagine the people who watch the streams would be more inclined to feel some type of way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people who watch her regular streams would also be more inclined to purchase these other videos.
Yeah, because it's like
honestly,
it's just quite literally more of them. Because I know like that's how this one ASMR artist kind of sold her like extracurricular content is that I have this channel for my ASMR stuff, but you can check me out on Twitch if you unironically just want more of me. But she's also married, and she also like brings her husband onto the videos sometimes. So I doubt anyone's falling in love with her.
You're in the closet while they do things ASMR.
Well, I never click on those videos. And well, the thing is,
that is a very strange dynamic. I feel like that's a form of parasocial fire control.
Well, like the thing is, she intentionally like would title the videos with her husband in it as like, hey, this is not me. I'm not in this video. Like this is my.
Oh, so she was just doing both.
Like this is my husband is guest starring in this video, etc.
Like she used a different name for the characters, or
no, it's like her.
Okay, so it's just that she labeled that her husband was it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you meant that she was using like an alternate name and account for just the husband videos because that would have been a really funny side hustle, actually.
No.
So why doesn't she? Because that sounds like she could avoid that whole situation and let it blow up in her face in 2 years when people find out.
Well, here's the funny thing is that there was another chick that had to make like a statement in like her community page where she's like, I thought you guys already knew that I had a husband. Like, why are you so surprised?
God. Yeah, I can imagine. Because that's another thing. There's somebody else I know who was very much openly in a relationship, and they had fans that were like hitting on them and asking about being their boyfriend and stuff for ages. Then every time she's just like, why don't you guys realize that I have a boyfriend? I stream with him all the time. So it's like, how many of these streams do these guys watch before they get hopelessly enamored?
I remember there's one ASMR chick that she was streaming like Terraria with her boyfriend, and that stream had like 10 viewers, but her videos, her like ASMR roleplay videos, they would still hit like 100K, 150K. So it is very interesting to like realize that people don't care until they care. There was also like but that girl I was saying, the ASMR audio girl, she released a video where the scenario it was like it was like a gimmick scenario where you find out that she goes to like the same library as you or whatever, and you run into her and you recognize her, and it was kind of like her breaking the fourth wall a bit about how you're like she never asked for people to fall in love with her. She's just doing this as like a thing that she enjoys, and it is funny to hear it from the creator's perspective, where it's like they did not expect. Some people do expect like people to fall in love with them, but I feel like a lot of people don't really when they just start like doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a social setting like this, where you're selling the social experience as a product, you have to consider that that is going to be part of the social experience. Like, there are risks for this kind of business.
Man, imagine finding out that your favorite streamer has a husband because she got sponsored by Manscaped. That's what happened to that one chick.
Really?
Yeah, she started a video off with a Manscaped ad, and this is also really funny to me because I would skip that ad and I would not know.
Oh my God.
I have a fucking on desktop. I would have like an add-on that just skips like ad reads, but on my phone, if the video starts with an ad at all, I'm just like fucking fast forward. Man, we talked a lot, and then it just divulged into like me ranting about ASMR. Like usual. This is what happens when the Mighty Germ's not here.
Yeah, big shout out to Mighty Germ, who is currently in a hotel with COVID.
Shout us to COVID. Wait, don't not shout us to COVID. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of stuff though. Both learned a thing or two from each other's experiences. Ultimately, though, I think it's the word is never gonna be the word is just gonna keep getting bastardized. But
I honestly just wish that I could have thought of more positives about parasocial relationships, but there's really just not many.
No,
in some situations you can get comfort, and sometimes they're harmless, but the parasocial exploitation is just so dangerous. It's not worth it.
Yeah, you really need a
real social life.
Yeah, a real social life,
so
and like
important
a heavy like mental fortitude to put yourself in this situation and not crumble.
Yeah, watch a two view today.
Yeah, just talk to her, and then you realize. Just keep talking to like girls or like guys, and then you just kind of realize they're people are boring. But
like, I remember a situation where people were very interested in this one streamer, and they posted some brownies or something on their Twitter, and these people were very apprehensive. That's the word. Apprehensive to compliment them because they were very shy about it. And most of those people I've seen grow over time to the point where they can just have regular conversations with people all the time. And that's just from talking on Twitch, honestly.
Yeah, this is like, it's really funny how like I tell my friends all the time, yo, if you want to just talk to girls, just get into VTubing. Like, honestly, if you just want to talk to chicks all day, get into VTubing. Don't talk, like, I know some people who, like, as soon as they find out that there's a female in their community, they kind of like already start falling in love with them because it's so rare. But then in this community, it's a female dominated community, so you just run into people all the time, and they all have like, they're all very cool people, like majority of them.
Honestly, your options online for just talking to women are really slim, which is insane when you think about it. It's like either you play MMOs and you talk to the guild healer and their 16 boyfriends, or you get into VTubing. Yeah. Because really, there's no other options.
VTubing wasn't like a thing until very recently.
So aside from VTubing, your only options were literal cam girls and face cams, which are just like softcore cam girls nowadays.
Yeah.
Man, the internet sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and like the thing is with cam girls, it's not like you're gonna like watch them for like 2 hours and then hit them up in the DMs like, hey, what do you were talking about this game? What do you think about this or that? And then you just keep like messaging them, and then before you know it, you're friends.
Well, your friends.
In
those communities, you can actually befriend a lot of them because they stream every day, and they're bored. They're waiting for tips.
Yeah, but
it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, but I don't want.
As long as you act like a normal human, you're gonna be better than all the great names in the chat. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, great names aren't people, dude.
Show Bobs.
Vicky. All it takes is 1 cent or $1.
Well, it's a dime technically, and I think you can get that for free actually.
That's crazy. Anyways, it's time's getting a little. We got to wrap it up, but we got talked a lot about various topics. That was been interesting to all you listeners out there, and I'm glad Bunzel showed up on short notice. And it's been a while since we like put out the episode, but that's because Jerem's been really busy and now he's sick. So I hope he gets better. We should hopefully return to like a normal schedule eventually. Before we go though, Bunzel, you want to show yourself?
Show myself?
Yeah, dude, drop your Twitter or whatever. God, Lord knows I don't have one.
I don't have my links open. You can follow me on Twitter at Bunzel_CH. It should be the same on Twitch. A lot of the time, I haven't been streaming that much lately, but I am hoping to get back into it. I've mostly been working on commissions.
Yeah, he's not streaming, so you know what that means. Hit up my man's DMs. He's not streaming, so he's very available.
Well, I mean, it won't be a parasocial relationship, so I guess I am open to it. Remember, if you're trying to get into a social relationship, it's a lot better than staring through the window.
Yeah, one of these days, we're going to be like that one meme picture of like the guy sitting next to...
the sickos?
No, not even that. It's like the guy sitting at like the window, at like a glass, and or next to like a TV, and the three people in the TV are like talking to each other, and the guy sitting next to the TV is like laughing. It's like a podcast experience. Anyway, this is going on too long. Goodbye.
Yeah, have a good night, everybody.